Welcome to the Great Paranormal Debate with hosts Kerry and Paul on Parasearch UK Radio.
Good evening everyone and welcome to the Great Paranormal Debate. I'm Paul Rook and joining me tonight is Kerry Ann as always. So Kerry Ann, you there?
Yes, I am.
How are you?
Hello. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Not too bad. Looking forward to the weekend.
Oh, yes. You've got lots going on this weekend, haven't you?
I have. I'm going down to the diving museum in Gosport on Saturday. So I'm really looking forward to that. I've never been there before. So hopefully we get some interesting results from there. I'm actually training some new staff at that event. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one.
Yes, it sounds it. I mean, I've never been to anywhere like that before. So the diving museum, is it actually... When you say diving museum, I think divers, swimmers, but I'm probably wrong.
Yeah, no, it's Army and Navy diving as opposed to scuba diving or anything like that. It's actually set up in a gun battery that used to have like housed barracks, and they used to have like big guns there to protect the coastline during World War One and stuff. So yeah, I mean it's got quite a big history to it. So I don't want to give too much away, just in case anyone that's going is listening. I don't want to feed them too much.
There's still some tickets though, isn't there?
Yeah, we've still got tickets left if anyone is interested at www.tridentparanormal.com. So go and have a look. It's got a little bit of history to it on the website, but there's so much more. So it's an interesting one. I'm going to that.
Well, now we've got the good stuff out of the way.
Yep.
Do you know what? I've been really excited about tonight's show because, I mean, this is something that we're talking about tonight. One of the items that we're talking about, one of my neighbours had.
Oh, really?
And,
okay.
Yeah, I used to walk past. Where I live, there's a massive lake.
Yeah.
And along that lake are houses that face the lake, and there's a pathway. And me being a nosy little so-and-so, I used to look into people's houses as I walked past. There was this one house who, by the way, had this amazing TV that just was able to move in all sorts of directions. Sometimes it was like...
Peeping Tom. That's what...
Yeah, an amazing TV. But they had the crying boy painting up on the wall. But they had a little girl. They had one side, they had the crying boy, and on the other side they actually had the crying girl as well. And we're going to be talking about that tonight, aren't we?
We are indeed.
So
a little bit of interesting fact about the crying boy. The crying boy isn't just one painting, it's a whole series of paintings. So there are different ones.
Well, they had two in their house and they never burnt down.
Well, maybe they just didn't have the right one.
Well, they had the boy and the girl either side of the TV, which was on top of the fireplace.
Okay.
But yeah, they really
tempting fate slightly there, like.
almost, honestly. But yeah, I mean, I've come across the crying boy before, and I know the basics. I mean, there's a massive theories to why this happened. But maybe we should just go into what the crying boy actually is.
Okay, yeah. What I'll do, I'll have a look at my notes because I've actually got the crying boy up already. There you go. How's that for cool?
There you go.
Right, okay. It says the crying boy was part of a series of mass production paintings by Italian painter Bruno Almadio, also known as Glavoni Bragolin. It depicted portraits of crying orphans. Originally it served as a souvenir for tourists after World War II and was widely distributed from the 1950s onwards. The most famous among the paintings in the series was that of the crying boy. However, in September 1985, a British tabloid newspaper, The Sun, reported a firefighter in Chelmsford had claimed undamaged copies of the painting were often found intact at the site of house fires that he himself had attended. causing speculation among the firefighting community that the image was cursed several months after the report of the house, whose owner had a copy of the painting, also reported fires. The Sun organised a massive bonfire to burn the paintings, and it asked readers to send in their cursed copies. But that seems to be where that originated from.
Yes. See, now I found out a little bit more about the original, how it kind of come about. So there was a husband and wife, and they had purchased this item, this print. So because it was a print, to be fair. And what actually happened was they ended up having a fire downstairs. It actually was caused by a chip pan fire. If this was in Rothendale, I want to say, but it actually was a chip pan fire that actually caused the fire. But all of the downstairs was absolutely destroyed, except for the fact that, except for this photo. So it says the curse of the crying boy appeared out of the blue one morning in 1985. The Sun, at that time the most popular tabloid newspaper in English-speaking world, publicised page 13 of its 14th September edition, a story headline, Blazing Curse of the Crying Boy. It told how Ron and May Hall blamed a cheap painting of a toddler with tears rolling down its face for a fire which gutted their terrace council home in Rotherham, a mining town in South Yorkshire. The blaze broke out in a chip pan in the kitchen of their home, and it spread rapidly.
Would that be Rotherham? Maybe.
Rotherham, teamwork. Yes, that's what I said. I don't. Clearly, you weren't listening, Paul. Jeez.
Okay.
That's exactly how I had it the first time. Okay.
Okay.
But yes, so everything actually got damaged, except for the framed print of the crying boy. Now, it was actually the brother of the husband. So his name was Ron Hall, and her name was May. And the brother of Ron, Peter, was a firefighter based in Rotherham. And one of the colleagues was a station officer, Alan Wilkinson. And it was those that actually come forth and said, actually, this isn't the first time we've seen this. We've seen this on numerous occasions. In fact, I think there was over 50 reports just in that station alone for the actual, of the fact that there was all these fires, but these paintings had become, they weren't damaged at all from what was going on. So this kind of escalated. It carried on. And then what happened was more stories come forward. So one story, because this is all through the Sun as well, may I add. They all come, because the Sun really did kickstart this campaign. They wanted, it's like a witch hunt for the photos, for the paintings. And they really did ask their readers to come forward and tell their stories about this painting. One of them, Dora Mann, she claims her house was gutted just 6 months after buying the print. She said all of her paintings were destroyed except for the one of the crying boy. Sandra Cask of Kilburn, North Yorkshire, said that her sister-in-law and a friend had all suffered disastrous fires since they had acquired their copies. Another family from Nottingham blamed the print for a blaze which had left them homeless. Brian Parks, his wife and 3 children needed treatment for smoke inhalation, said that they had destroyed his copy after returning from hospital to find it hanging undamaged on the blackened wall of his living room. See, this is another thing as well. The people were coming forward to say that they tried to destroy them, but they wouldn't burn.
Okay. It would be quite interesting to find out whether or not people actually owned that print and had their house destroyed, including the print.
See, yes, all of them really have just said how. I mean, Paul Collier is the person that's come forward, said that he tossed one of his 2 prints onto a bonfire. Despite being left in flames for an hour, it was not even scorched. His story provided a neat link to comments by a fireman who recalled the aftermath of house fires in Rotherham, where the prints inexplicably escaped damage. Oh, it's a tongue twister. But there was this story in particular. This man, this is where a lot of them were saying actually no. in most cases, straightforward explanations of carelessness, discarded cigarettes, overheated chip pans, and faulty electric heaters were found as a consequence. So, I mean, very interesting.
Yeah, but the Sun newspaper is only asking for people that have had fires and had that print intact. Now, if it done, say for example, that I don't know, there was 5,000 of those prints in the UK, and only 50 of those people had fires and that print survived. How many others had that print destroyed in a fire? Should it have been the cause of it? Is sort of what I'm getting at. Could it be down to a coincidence? Because you haven't got the overall picture. You haven't got the big picture. You've only got a slice of it.
Well, it does become a lot darker on the Sun's side of things, because actually it says that at the time it was one of the leading English-speaking newspapers, but a rival newspaper had just come out. And they were looking for splash stories, they were called.
Yeah.
And this kind of brought in a lot of revenue for them. It created Pardon?
I would have thought it would. Absolutely.
Yeah, so it actually did. I mean, it come at almost, so to speak, the right time for them, because they were really struggling as a newspaper to compete with this new newspaper that had come along. So that's one side of, creating this, I say again, a witch hunt, so to speak, for this, was because it draws a lot of attention and revenue and a lot of readers, and it was something that people wanted to follow because it scared them, it incited fear. They wanted to know what was going on. And then they got everyone involved by doing the massive bonfire.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it is basically scaremongering, really, if you think about it. But as I said, you haven't got the overall picture. You've only got a slice of the facts. You haven't got the full story, really. And I don't think they would be interested in the full story, being the fact that it could just be coincidental.
And, these are really, the communities that these people lived in were working class, which, today's standard of working class is completely different to, that era, that time, working class people. And it was very popular. This item was very, very popular. It would have been in a lot of households. And even though there was this big thing about it, people were still going out and buying them.
Well, yeah, I mean, they would. I mean, people have always been interested in the unknown. So I just think it plays on that a lot. And, yeah, I think, a lot of people would be interested. But people are also scared of the unknown as well. So, it's about 50-50, I think.
Yeah, and I do think that really the odds were that, I mean, as well, when you think of the era, like the people cooked with, I was thinking about this when I was doing the research. Not very often that you hear that people were having fires due to chip pans anymore, chip pans anymore, sorry. So even the way that people use, it's different. It's a different era. And the chances of a fire back then were probably more likely because of shoddy wiring, because of, the techniques that people were using to cook, and the conditions that some people were living in working class areas in that area as well. So, and they've just they've just basically looked for a connection to give some logic to what was going on, and they've associated the two, the image and the fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the fact that the images survived fires as well. I think that could be more of a coincidence than anything. Just simply because if people are having chip pan fires in the kitchen, and they've got the picture hanging in the living room, I think that sort of goes a bit towards it as well.
Yeah, and I mean, and you do. I don't know. I just think, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I'm not saying that there isn't a connection, but I'm not saying there is either. And I just think that statistically, more often than not, that image was going to be in a household, because it was, as I was makes me cringe to say this, but it was in fashion.
Yeah.
And in that kind of that lifestyle, working class in that time, what I would like to know is how many fires happened in a period of time.
Yeah.
And and to see how, whether there was a regular occurrence.
Well, Richard in the chat room, he said that you can get the prints in Debenhams. So I wonder how many of the stores burnt down due to selling this stock.
Yeah, very good point.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting story nevertheless. And I think it's one of those that people are going to have lots of different opinions on and different standpoints. I think even today there will be people that believe that this item can bring a bad luck, or, and I use this term loosely, a curse onto a household. And there's some people that don't give it much weight and will quite happily have that item in their home, and they haven't had no issues since. What I would really like to know is if there is someone that has that painting in their house now, and how they've got on with it, because has there been a fire?
Yeah, that'd be interesting, won't it?
I would like to know. I would like to know if that I mean, like I said, I'd half of me wants to go and look at that neighbour's house.
Yeah.
And just give them an ask.
That's it. Just go around there and say, look, in the interest of health and safety, you need to take that painting away because it is actually cursed and you're saving them from a house fire.
Or I've been a nosy little neighbour for the last 20 years, and every time I go past, I've looked into your window and I've noticed you have a painting, one of which I'm quite interested in. Has your house burnt down yet, or have you had any fires within it? Either way, I have a feeling I could be kited away.
Yeah, I think so.
But Ashley Nib is in the chat room. Welcome, as well as Kerry Greenaway and Richard Clements. And Ashley says, I know a demonologist that has a copy which was related to a haunting. Okay, so Jason Love, which I'll see if I can get in touch. It's a reprint too. So I'll see if I can get in touch with Jason and see if I can get his opinion on it, because it would be interesting to know, now what people's perspective is.
Maybe it's just a copy of the copy of the original print that's cursed.
Possibly. Yeah, possibly. But I mean, we've spent a lot of time talking about this image, and we have lots more that we've spoken about. So things that are more recently in our media at the moment, or has been in the last couple of years, and we've found some great little articles. But before we do that, you have actually got a list of some of the haunted paintings, haven't you?
I have, yeah. We've got the five most haunted and cursed paintings ever created, apparently, according to this website. We've got the Anguished Man. Now, I don't know if you've heard about this. The Anguished Man is a infamous painting with a rather gruesome origin. The original artist is said to have used his own blood as part of the pigment used in the paint, and then he committed suicide after the painting was completed. We've also got the Hands Resist Him. It's got like a little boy and girl standing in front of a door, and the door's got loads of little windows in it, and there's loads of hands in there. This painting, also known as the eBay Haunted painting, is said to be the most haunted painting in the world. It was created by artist Bill Stoneham in 1972, and it shows a young boy with a creepy lifestyle doll standing beside him in front of the glass panelled door. Behind the door is a dark room with floating hands pressed against the glass. We've also got the Crying Boy, which we've just discussed. We've also got the portrait of Bernardo de Galvez. And Bernardo de Galvez Madrid was the Viscount Galveston, and the court of Galvez was a Spanish military leader and colonel administrator who fought for the American colonies. In honour of him, the Hotel Galvez basically had this painting. What's the word? They had it made. I can't remember what the word is. But yeah, they reckon that the painting is haunted by him. We've also got the Headless Man painting, and Laura P, a reader of paranormalbout.com, is where I'm getting this information from, shared a chilling story about a painting that she had created. It was based on a photo from James Kidd, a commercial photographer whose photographs were on display at a gallery together with Laura's oil paintings. The photo was a double exposure of a stagecoach stop that she knew, and an old. It was the station stop and an old wagon. The resulting photograph was surprisingly eerie when a headless man appeared out of nowhere, standing on a log at the left side of the wagon. So it's almost like this. I don't know whether it's pareidolia, it could be, or whether or not he was actually painted in and no one actually noticed. But apparently that's a spirit of a headless ghost. And that's on the top 5 haunted and cursed paintings.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I know of the one, and some of them are quite strange, aren't they? It's like, what would possess someone to want to paint some of those images? It's very strange, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. And I do believe, sometimes it could just be, in the case of the Headless Man one, for example, I think it's a case of pareidolia, where people are just seeing these images in the painting of a spirit, and they just put 2 and 2 together and say, oh yeah, it's cursed or haunted. Now, whether or not they are, I don't know, but it'd be interesting to get a bigger, wider picture of the whole situation as opposed to just a slice of it in the case of the crying boy.
Yeah, it is. It is fascinating. And again, I do put out there, I would like to know someone who has now currently, well, actually has said that Jason Love has, and I'm going to contact Jason Love, but that has got some connection to a haunting. And I would love to know of someone who has this item and there had nothing paranormal related to the, to that print themselves.
Yeah.
Just see how many people have experienced recently.
Yeah, I mean, in the chat room, Richard Clements has just said, "Can an inanimate object hold? Where is it? Hold energy." That's it. I do believe that an inanimate object can hold energy as we're talking about spirits, just simply because the main idea of that is basically the stone tape theory, where the energy of spirits can be basically recorded into stone because of what is in the stone, maybe, and it can every now and again leak out, which would be a residual type haunting. So I hope that answers his question, really.
Ashley brings a new perspective, and it is something that we've spoken about before. And he Ashley says, is it really about energy at all? Perhaps the object acts as triggers to allow us to access information from a collective consciousness. The information may be then present itself as paranormal activity, a probable form of telepathic interaction. I mean, I personally, I agree with both of you, to be fair. I do believe that an object can actually hold energy. I feel something as traumatic or has a lot of emotion attached to it, be it love, anger, hate, whatever. I do feel like there can be an attachment to that, just like we become attached to things ourselves. We are drawn to certain items that we have, that become an extension of ourselves. And I believe, why would that change when we pass over into spirit? Whether it's a ring, whether it's a piece of jewellery, whether it's a doll, whether it's something that we love and we've invested time into, and it's a reflection or it's a product of something we enjoy. It could be something that's taken someone's life. There's something, that attachment of anger, of hurt, of pain. So I do think that there can be some type of attachment to objects, but I do also believe that there is an element of, like Ashley says, a trigger for ourselves, and that we receive that information from each other as such in ourselves. But I don't know. I do believe.
I think in some cases, in particular, where the haunted dolls, for example, I don't believe for 1 second that there is a spirit possessing a doll anywhere. I just believe that it's more of a psychological issue for us, really. We see all these films on TV of haunted dolls, or in Child's Play, the Chucky doll running around, and you've got like the Puppet Master as well as another example. You've got that sort of thing in your mind. So if someone tells you that doll is haunted, that's the sort of thing it conjures up all the time.
Yes, I see where you're coming from. But I also have this perspective that, I mean, not everyone's going to see it from this point of view, but I'm still going to put it out there. Now, as a, from a mediumship type, and if you think of physical mediumship, now, if we believe that a spirit can now I don't think that, backtracking, let me start from the beginning. I don't think that, so to speak, a spirit can possess. I do think that it can attach to an object. Not necessarily a person, but to an object, right? Now, if we believe that spirit have the ability, or ghosts, however you want to, describe them, have the ability to affect equipment, move objects, even if you think of trance mediumship and physical mediumship, if you believe that a spirit can step that close to you, that it can manipulate your features, to manipulate your voice, why can you not believe that a spirit can stand that close to an object and be able to manipulate that? I don't understand. It's a contradiction within itself, surely.
Well, no, because I'm a believer of the stone tape theory, and using an object is in the same sort of way. So yeah, as you said, a spirit can latch onto the object, but only in a residual way. So I don't know, if for example you've got a child spirit who plays with a teddy bear every night after school, for example, then when he's dead, his spirit will still play with that teddy bear, so he's attached to that item. So it's not an intelligent haunting, it would be more residual for me, and that is what stone tape theory is all about.
No, I understand that, but I think that when we do talk about interactions with spirit in amongst a investigation, and we put trigger objects down, and that is not necessarily an object that, yes, it's a trigger, but it's not necessarily an object that spirit might have come in contact with, or it might be it's something it hasn't seen in a long time. Doesn't mean that that's a residual energy interaction, or moving, or manipulating, or light up. It means that there could be intelligent responses there, being displayed through lights, through tapping, through using these objects to be able to do that. Yes, it's very extreme. Yes, I'm going really, really out there when I say this. I just believe that if we think that spirit is able to manipulate things in this way, or ghosts, however I'm in the habit of calling them spirit. I think that if they're able to manipulate that way, then we need to also maybe acknowledge that there is a possibility that there is items out there that spirit might not possess, but is able to manipulate in the same way as, and especially if it's an item that they love and grow attached to.
I totally agree with you, but when we do these investigations and the place is highly active, you're looking for an intelligent haunting as opposed to a residual, because a residual wouldn't be interacting with whatever trigger object you bring in. It would only interact with the object that it's attached to. Yeah.
So why do we put trigger objects in there?
Because you're looking for an intelligent haunting. It's what you're looking for at the time. So if, for example, you go into a location and they say, yeah, we've got loads of poltergeist activity, it throws things around, you look for an object that you can put in as a trigger object. So that's what you want to be moved. But on the other hand, if you're looking for residual energy, any residual spirit is not going to interact with any object that you place there unless it's the object that it's attached to. Because a residual energy is basically repeating itself over and over again, doing the same things. So it's not going to interact with your trigger object.
Well, in my opinion, Paul, you may be wrong. But you know what? It's okay. I just think you can't say... Well, no, you can, but I disagree with the fact that you're acknowledging that an intellectual response could be a ghost interacting with an object and moving it and changing it and hitting it across the floor, but you can't acknowledge the fact that not all cases, but some cases could be an intellectual spirit manipulating and attaching itself to an object because it just gives it a way of being able to make itself known. That's where I'm with
But
it.
residual energy isn't interested in making itself known. All it knows is what it's going to be doing every time it appears. So, as I said, with this child, all he's going to be doing is looking for his teddy bear. He's not going to be interested in the ball that you placed on a bit of paper. He's going to be going for his teddy bear all the time. Do you know what I mean? So he's not going to interact with your experiment. The only way you're going to get any interaction is if it's a poltergeist, for example, or a spirit that's intelligent enough to interact with your experiment.
Yeah, but yes, I agree. I am not dismissing for 5 seconds that if we have a alleged haunted object, that it isn't residual haunting, right?
Yeah.
But in the same breath, it can't be not acknowledged that it could be intellectual as well. I mean, how can you? Ashley makes a really good point, but applying it to my point, how can you really, tell what is residual and what is intelligent? Really, how can you tell? It might have, other than being it every day at the same time, every day of the year. How would you be able to tell the difference?
And this is why, I mean, we covered the different types of investigations on the show the other night. It depends on what is reported to you. If it's reported to you that every day at 3 o'clock, I mean, one case I know about when I was younger was that every night at 6 p.m, I think it was, a spirit would come through the front door, walk straight into the kitchen, and then disappear. That was his daily. That's what he'd done every day. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, having an experiment, he wouldn't be interested in it. He would just be interested in coming through the front door and disappearing in the kitchen. And to me, that's a residual energy, because no matter what you do, you can't interact with that person or spirit, because that is all he's going to be doing. That's residual to me. And with a intelligent haunting, they're the ones that interact with your K2 meters. They're the ones that move the trigger objects. They're the ones that basically interact, communicate, stuff like that. With residual, you're not going to get any of that. And it's very difficult to. I think it's very difficult to capture either one of them, to be honest.
Oh yeah, I agree with you there. We're talking like it's something that happens every day, and we should know it should be something that we should automatically know because we've experienced constantly, and that's not the case. I just think that I agree with you. I do completely agree with you with what you're saying. But I do also think that we can't dismiss the fact that sometimes it might be an intellectual spirit that's attached to an object rather than someone just doing the same thing over and over again. And the only way we can ever really, really tell is, like you said, if you have that interaction with the people that own the building, or, I've been there on a regular basis, and like every day at 3 o'clock I wake up to the sound of doors shutting, then yeah, I agree with you completely. But if you just got randomly this object being moved at random times in different ways, and I don't necessarily think that's residual. I think that is something more intelligent. But
yeah, if something is being moved different times at regular intervals, then yeah, it would point more to an intelligent haunting than a residual. But if it's something that happens the same time every day or every other day, or there's some sort of pattern to it, then it's more likely to point to a stone tape theory type haunting. And that's why when we do the investigations of private houses, it's quite important to build up that catalogue of what actually is going on and having a log.
no, I agree. I do agree. Before we because we can talk about this all night, but before we move on, there's one more point that's been made in the chat room and says, "What if it's us?" Now, that is a whole different show. You could go on forever. our ability to be able to manifest energy, to move things. And I agree that we can actually do that. Do you believe we can?
Well, yeah, I suppose yes. Yeah, I do agree with that. To be honest, it's interesting though.
It is. It is fascinating. Um, in the chat room, we have Richard says, I think the stone tape theory serves a purpose back in the day as a stopgap, but I do feel we need to look elsewhere. Ashley says, ironically, very similar to experimenter effect. Sorry, I've just picked a comment there, Ashley, so I don't know if that makes sense. But Ashley does say in the stone tape theory, I disagree with the stone tape theory, it's more logical to resolve the information source to the living individual rather than a spirit. So it's all really interesting. But we have some other stories that we want to go on to, and I have my Paranormal that I love to do every Friday. So you want to go on to our next story? I have already posted the link in the chat room. I'm going to do it again because I think it's gone a little bit further down. This is the video. Now this is an oldie, but a goodie. I say oldie, it's been about now for about 4 or 5 months, I think. Everyone's seen it. It's the video of the little girl playing in her room, and the doll that's on the chair turns its head and looks at her. And then there's a following video of her playing on a desk in the front room, and all this paperwork from nowhere just goes flying everywhere. So have you seen this video already, Paul?
I have, yeah. I've seen it originally, and I see it again when you posted it earlier to me. Now, it does say in there, in the report, that the doll was caught blinking and then it moved. Now, I can't see the blinking. Maybe it's just a bad video. But it just seems to me that the doll sort of slips off of the leg. It doesn't move as such, and it doesn't get up and dance about and stuff. It just sort of slides off the side of the leg where it was leaning up against. So I'm not entirely convinced by that, to be fair.
I mean, there's lots of explanations. Again, because it's a video, we are limited to the perception of what is happening within the room. You only are showing a small window of an area, which is really difficult. We get that with a lot of videos of trying to peer around the corner to see what's actually there. But it is still fascinating. Now, I mean, videos like this, I'm very dubious of because of the fact, I mean, looking at this video, the little girl's head actually turns and looks towards the little girl, which is a little bit strange. And it looks at her pigtail. The little doll's pigtail is actually pulled to turn the doll's head. It's very, very strange. But I'd like to open it up to the chat room a bit more and see if anyone else has seen it and what they think of it. But if you was to fake something like that, Paul, what would you need?
I think for that, all you would need is a bit of fishing wire, because it's practically invisible to the video. So yeah, that's pretty much all you would need, I would have thought, because it isn't, as I said, the doll isn't getting up and dancing about or walking about or anything. So it's just sitting there, propped up against a chair leg. So a bit of fishing wire attached to the doll, it could make it move. I mean, without actually looking at the doll either, I don't know too much about dolls, but I mean, could it be one of those ones where the head twists quite freely? I don't really know.
When the little girl noticed, she gets scared. I mean, at first when I saw this, like, why would you just randomly start filming? Start filming. That always is a worry for me when I think to myself, someone just happens to have a camera out when this is going on. But it does say that the footage was said to be recorded on camera installed by her father after she complained something was bothering her. So according to this, she'd been experiencing some problems, and she'd been complaining to her parents, and but they actually see, things were flying, that these papers from nowhere were flying. Yeah. So with that, what do you think could have caused that?
Again, it could have been a fan off of the camera, but it's one of those things where you look at it, and although you can explain it, it's still quite interesting to be able to go to the location and whether or not it is faked or whether it's genuine, you want to go there to have a look, experiment with the doll. You want to experiment with the table. Can you recreate it? Look at that as well, and just see whether or not you can recreate that, or it's or if anything happens while you're there as well. You can set up the trigger objects, because from my point of view, that does sort of signify an intelligent haunting if it is genuine. So I would keep an open mind about that one, because it doesn't seem to be too busy. Like some of the other videos that we've experienced online, some videos are just constantly full of activity, and them to me are too busy. I would discount those, because that would take a lot of energy to use to do all that. But this one doesn't seem to be highly active, and it's just little things. So I would keep an open mind about this one, and I would like to go there and investigate it further, even if it just does turn out to be, the dad was pulling on a bit of fishing wire. At least you can put that sort of thing to bed, and just sort of get the answers that you need. That's sort of
like you said, either way, it is very fascinating, and although, like I said, I'm very dubious for these kind of articles and videos that circulate in the media. That's why I enjoy talking about them so much, because there's always people always going to interpret things really differently, see them from in different ways as well. And I mean, me personally, when I saw that, like you said, fishing, like catgut, fishing wire, but then when it's quite well lit, so there would be some reflection of cat wire of the light because it's well lit. So there's lots of, when you think you come up with a logical explanation, there seems to be, and maybe not. But we really quick. I've got another one that I want to talk about before we finish, and this one is called My Computer's Frozen. So basically, the story is about a lady called Jane Harris. She is a medium, and this article was not so long ago, and it's about a creepy moment. Haunted puppet said to have choked its previous owner starts moving on its own inside a sealed glass container in the middle of the night. And on this, I've shared the link to the article into the chat room, and there is a video in there. There's also some photos as well that you can have a look at, and it's kind of taken like stills from the video to be able to see the image, like what's going on without playing it. And basically what she said is a creepy puppet said to have choked its former owner has been filmed moving inside a sealed glass container in the dead of night. Paranormal investigator Jane Harris, 32, from Stourbridge, West Midlands, recorded a puppet every night for 3 months after the previous owner claimed it tried to choke him to death. And last month, she was left dumbfounded when her cameras caught the chilling moment the wooden doll appeared to come to life. So this is where the video comes in, and you see the doll itself, and it does move. And it's now this is the problem you've got with this, is you can see it's in a glass container. You can see the reflection of the glass onto the wall. But what you can't see is if there's like a front panel glass, or, if the top panel's in there at all. So it is quite difficult. Now, we're going to keep filming with motion sensors, as this is just one video and we want to build a bigger picture. Currently, we don't know the name or anything else about the spirit. But what they have said is that attached to it is a male spirit who can actually move quite freely from the items, so can move in and out of the glass box, allegedly. And it's apparently it's meant to be mocking them. So, what do you think?
Well, I looked at this video, and it's not actually the doll that moves. It's basically a Mariette doll. So you've got like a wooden cross with the strings hanging down, and then you've got the doll, which is the puppet, basically. And it's the wooden cross that moves. So it's not actually the doll. as such. Now, the way it's been set up, it's almost like the cross is leaning up against something, and it has just slowly, over time, just slipped and gone up against the window. I'm not convinced that it is genuine. Okay, I mean, they sort of stood the cross up a bit, so it does look like it's standing upright. With vibration, I mean, I don't know about the house or where the house is or where the case is situated, but there could be a lot of vibration going on nearby that causes it just to fall over. Or, as I said, it could just be leaning up against the dole or a bit of clothing or something on the dole, and over time it's just slowly gone, and that was the result. I don't think that it is anything paranormal at all. But it would be interesting to see if that was the only incident they've caught, or whether there's
we
more
have
to
Ashley,
it.
again, Ashley is in the chat room, and he actually knows Jane Harris.
Yeah.
So I tell you what, really interesting if we would be able to on another paranormal debate show, be able to get her on and have a chat about some of the stories that are in the media about what she's experienced and give her interpretation of what's gone on as well. That'd be really interesting. So maybe
it would be, because then we can find out exactly where a house is situated to the main road, possibly, or whereabouts the case is in the house, whether there's other people in the house to cause vibration and noise, possibly. So yeah, I mean, you could get all those sort of answered. So yeah, I'd be really interested in looking at that.
Let's see what we can sort out. But with Richard says any photograph or video evidence has to be discounted purely on the fact that it causes too much debate. I think the time and effort people invest trying to prove or disprove is this not really good research or investigation? Well, Richard, if they didn't, then our show wouldn't exist, because this is a great paranormal debate.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know what? Right, I disagree with that. Because if someone can produce a photograph of something that they think is paranormal, if no one debated it, then there wouldn't be any experiments that we could test to see whether that is genuine.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand where Richard's coming from, and the fact that Richard says any photograph or video evidence has to be discounted purely on the fact it causes too much debate. I agree to an extent. I don't think it has to be discounted, because I believe we should have an open mind. I believe that we should think of all possibilities, because once you discount it, you've got a closed mind. Nothing is ever going to be paranormal or logical. However, it could be on either end of the spectrum. Closed-mindedness gets no one anywhere, really. And I'm not saying, Richard, that's what you're suggesting to do either, but I'm just saying I agree a little bit, but at the same time, I'm kind of open to video and photograph evidence, just because I love looking at it, I love chatting about it, and I love doing my Friday night show about it. But Ashley says media are the ghost stories of today, which trigger our fascination with investigations. That's true.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
Paul,
yes,
we have our Paranormal.
Yes, we do. Go for it.
Okay, so let me just get a little computer uploaded. It's gone so slow tonight. So this is from an article that our very lovely Richard Clent shared during the week, and the stories are really fascinating. Kerry Greenaway sent it my way, and I found some interesting stories. Now, usually paranormal is urban legends, but this is meant to be based upon things that have actually gone on. So the one that I picked is called Into the Black. So Greg has always had a profound interest in the paranormal. Over the years, he began to research and track down various objects that others had deemed as haunted. When Greg had collected a significant number of items, he, along with his wife, formed the Travelling Museum of Paranormal and Occult. Essentially, Greg and his wife travelled around the country displaying their supernatural finds for anyone who is curious. A couple of years ago, Greg was contacted by a young woman about a small mirror with black glass. The woman, who wanted to remain anonymous, stated that her mother had acquired the mirror during a psychic expo. Her daughter thought nothing of the purchase until her mother began to act very withdrawn and subdued. When the young woman confronted her mother claimed that it was the mirror's doing and that it was inherently evil. Skeptical school, the young woman took the mirror home with her, concerned over her mother's mental health. Despite not believing what her mother had said about the dark mirror, nevertheless, she found herself feeling oddly uncomfortable and uneasy in her home. After a few short days, she contacted Greg and donated the mirror to the travelling museum. At first, Greg kept his distance from the mirror, not because he was frightened by it, but because he didn't want to be disappointed if nothing paranormal occurred. Oftentimes, the museum has supposed haunted objects donated to it, but nothing strange ever occurs. However, since it was newly acquired, Greg brought it along for the next tour. One their first stop in Pennsylvania, a woman immediately picked up the mirror and gazed at her reflection. Within seconds, she had grown extremely pale and had sat the mirror down, hastening to cover it up with a piece of cloth. When Greg asked her what she had seen, the woman replied that she had seen her own corpse in the mirror's reflection. The woman had stated that the mirror was dark in nature and that she needed to go pray. Confused but excited by such an account, Greg made a point to carefully observe anyone who else grabbed the mirror. Some individuals only saw the reflection, but others had much more ghastly things to report. Another woman in a different location also claimed to have seen a corpse. One man, a supposed die-hard skeptic, stated that he had seen his reflection, but they had turned around and walked completely out of the frame. Another woman claimed that she looked at her reflection. Her mirror image had begun to whisper, despite the fact the woman herself never once opened her mouth. Greg and his wife continue with the dark mirror. Tour with the dark mirror, but the paranormal enthusiast admits that he keeps the mirror covered when he resides in their home. He avoids looking at the mirror at all costs. The mirror itself seems to want to draw Greg in, but he has always resisted gazing into a glass surface head on. He has become convinced that whatever the mirror wants to show him, it will not be pleasant. That's the end.
Spooky.
It is. I mean, there was a few of them that I found really fascinating, but something about that story. I think it's the looking back at your own mortality. I mean, mirrors are quite, when you think about them, they do that. They make you look at, there's nothing you can hide when you look into the mirror. Your flaws and imperfections and your grey hairs. But they've taken that and taken it to the next level. Yeah. And it now reflects your your mortality. I know, actually, dun dun dun. That's where I was going with it. So yeah, I really like that one. So I've got a couple more stories that I'm going to add to my Paranormal. And but at this time next year, Paul, we'll have our own book.
Yeah, we should. Absolutely.
We should. We'll
Parasearch Radio, Paranormal Debate, Paranormal.
Paranormal, that's it.
Yeah. Tales from the Paranormal.
That's it. I think we should just, be like the travelling towel collector.
Yep.
And put all these in our own little Parasearch UK debate.
Annual. The 2019 annual. Yeah.
This is how magic happens, Paul. This is how magic happens.
And talking about Black Mirrors, isn't that Black Mirror what's coming up next? Or is it the Dark Mirror? Yeah, I thought that was quite good.
It was, wasn't it? Yes, there's Kerry Greenaway and Mark Manley. And I'm super excited for their show because they're going to be talking about spontaneous combustion.
Yes, they are.
Really looking forward to that.
I know some of the research that Kerry's actually done for this, and I'm really looking forward to this show.
Oh, so she hasn't spoken to me about it yet. But she has told me that she's been researching for weeks, that's all.
Yeah, she's been contacting fire chiefs and all sorts of things, yeah. She's all out on this one.
Yes, she has.
As Ashley in the chat room said, yes, it's a hot topic.
Well, I hope that all our listeners have joined us this evening. Thank you so much, because there is, we have a little bit of competition this evening with the old TV. Last week it was St Patrick's Day.
Yep.
And this week we have
Comic Relief.
Comic Relief, would you believe?
I know.
So I think everyone that's with us now should stick with Parasearch UK Radio. It is the only place to be for your paranormal dose. The show's going to be coming up after this one. All you have to do is click on the link and keep refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's it. Keep refreshing, and eventually at 9 o'clock the next show will start.
Yes, and next week we're changing it a little bit, aren't we?
Yeah, we're shaking things up next week. I'm going to be on the later show at 9 o'clock, and
Yeah.
Kerry's going to take my place on this show.
Kerry Greenaway is we're going to do an all girls special. We're going to do Kerry's Do the Paranormal. That's a hashtag, by the way, guys. Let's get that going.
Yep, Kerry's going to be me, and I'm going to be Kerry next week.
Yep, and me and Kerry are going to be talking about the usual stuff me and Paul talk about. And Paul is going to be with Mark and Manley, and they're going to be going a little bit UFO, aren't you?
We are. We're talking to Michael Samuel Rutherford, and he's a UFOologist or UFO expert. So we're going to be talking to him and picking his brains about some of the big cases out there and finding out what makes him tick.
Yeah, and his own experiences as well, which is something that he's quite eager to talk about, because he's had quite a few experiences himself. Now, he's been in the newspaper. He's also had, I've seen some of his drawings and some of his articles and stuff like that. He's quite a fascinating man. So, yeah, so that's next week on Friday.
Yes.
We've got a whole lot of paranormal going on before then.
I know, and on my show, which is the Paranormal Concept, I'm going to be discussing with Kerry Greenaway, we're going to be discussing the Mandela effect.
Oh, yes, she has spoken to me about this.
Yeah.
And then I think we're going to be doing our first Parasearch outing, me and Kerry Greenaway. We're going to the Paul Adams release, the Harry Price book that he's come out, he's just brought out for the
Interesting.
anniversary of Harry Price's passing. And we're going to be going doing that representing Parasearch, massive. And we're going to be trying to do little interviews as well. So that is all next week. Fantastic stuff. We have Jay and Teresa and Kerry and Paul and Mark, and we're all back next week. So stay tuned for Kerry and Mark after this show, and make sure you're with us all next week, because we have some fantastic shows coming up. So,
see you all again soon, and stay safe.
Bye.
Welcome to the Great Paranormal Debate with hosts Kerry and Paul on Parasearch UK Radio.